Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I have something really fun for you. What if I told you an ex-DICE developer went on social media and tweeted about a 15 to 20 message long thread basically warning you not to buy the next Battlefield game? This ex-DICE developer even uses language that is similar to language that I would use to describe DICE. He describes a lot of what they're going to do with the next Battlefield game as slop. He says they want to turn it into Call of Duty and a bunch of other really fun stuff. It even includes a fairly thorough recap of how Battlefield got here from an internal perspective. Before we get into things, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to follow Battlefield and Delta Force, and of course swing by the daily streams, ladies and gentlemen, at twitch.tv/enders, first link in the description. Alright, so this ex-DICE developer, Rezibel, on B-Sky Social, starts off this entire thread by saying that basically 98% of the people who made previous Battlefield games have already left EA. Some people think him saying 98% is exaggerating, but I actually think that's more close to accurate. I think the people making the next Battlefield game are not familiar with how to make a Battlefield game. He then goes through an extremely detailed and lengthy recap of how DICE internally imploded, and he mentions everything from general managers getting fired for, quote, inappropriate behavior, to how strong EA leaders protect their studios like DICE, and the weak EA leaders get micromanaged to death by EA themselves. Rezibel's lengthy recap of DICE's internal implosion focuses heavily on Patrick Sutherland, who ran EA Studios out of DICE's office in Stockholm for 14 years. Rezibel refers to him as, quote, DICE's guy, and he was the favored/protected one in the studio within EA's studio system. He essentially protected the studio itself from EA. A big turning point for Rezibel was when the DICE leadership changed in 2016 after shipping banger games like Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and of course the general consensus last decent Battlefield game, which was Battlefield 1. Rezibel goes on to state that DICE's general manager, Patrick Bach, who was the executive producer on Battlefield 3 and the general manager during Battlefield 4, quote-unquote, left DICE, and publicly, this was supposedly a mutual parting. But internally, there were rumors that Patrick Bach was kicked out due to, quote, inappropriate behavior, and there are no details as to what that may actually allude to. Let's just hope there was no Blizzard employee actions taking place, shall we say. Comment down below if you understand that reference. But back to the serious stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently Patrick Bach was the, quote, last pre-acquisition employee to lead DICE. Okay, so he was one of the last people that was from the old guard of Battlefield. After Patrick Bach left or was kicked out, Patrick Sutherland picked a new general manager, which was Oscar Gabrielson, and Rezibel refers to Oscar Gabrielson as a founder who successfully sold out to EA, just like Patrick Sutherland. Rezibel then goes on to illustrate for us the rapid decline of DICE throughout the years ever since these changes of leadership took place, started with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the massive loot box scandal, which some of you may remember. Then, of course, Mass Effect Andromeda launched in 2017, and that was not even worth talking about. And then, unfortunately, Battlefield 5 released soon after that. One very interesting thing that Rezibel points out here is Battlefield 5, during its development, the BF5 team was sent into a, quote, physicality push to update the game's production value to create a stronger sense of, quote-unquote, realism. This push took resources away from creating critical path content needed to finish the game. So in Rezibel's words, he is essentially saying they sacrificed some actual in-game content to focus on, quote, physicality and realism in Battlefield 5. If that's not a DICEism, I don't know what is. On top of this, Rezibel reminds us that Battlefield 5 was the, quote, first Battlefield game to launch after EA's pivot to live service games. DICE was told they could no longer sell DLC packs like all previous Battlefield games, monetizing only via non-gameplay impacting cosmetics. And after Star Wars Battlefront 2's controversy with loot boxes, DICE was terrified of live service games. But of course, as we all know, that didn't stop DICE or EA from doing any of that, and as Resible puts it, quote, "At the end of 2018, Battlefield 5 missed its ship date by a month and ultimately shipped a classic unfinished, we'll fix this in the live service game." Then, after Battlefield 5's immediate failure, becoming the overall worst-selling mainline franchise game in the history of Battlefield, EA has seen enough, and of course Andrew Wilson basically got rid of Patrick Sutherland, and then the bleeding of talent started happening. Some senior developers made their own studios, and these senior developers started poaching talent from the old DICE, and other senior developers saw this opportunity as a wonderful time to leave and go to other game designers. Fast forward past 2042's abysmal launch, causing even more positions to be fired internally, and yeah, we have a recipe for absolute disaster. But Resible has some very interesting statements about what the internal thoughts of EA's business people think about Call of Duty in regards to Battlefield. Resible then states, quote, "The business people at EA have always looked longingly and jealously at Call of Duty and the gazillions of dollars it makes annually. Then they look at Battlefield and ask, why can't you be more like that?" Battlefield 2042's performance gave Vince Zampella and Laura Mael their dream opportunity to turn Battlefield into Call of Duty. Resible then lays out his apparent internal knowledge of what the goal is for EA with Battlefield. Quote, "The goal is a new Battlefield game every year. I think EA has a roadmap to achieve this, but we won't see the next game in 2026. If Bead sticks to his vision, he will get number 1, a full-priced main game with limited single player. Number 2, seasons, battle pass, and live service slop. Number 3, a free-to-play mode like Warzone. Wild and crazy, monetized cosmetic content is the ultimate goal, and they'll push that towards the player base as fast as they can without generating too much negative sentiment. Pay for the game every year, and pay for the battle pass, and pay for skins." And keep in mind, again, ladies and gentlemen, these comments are coming from an ex-developer, someone that worked internally in these companies in some position relating to the game, okay? If you need any other sign not to pre-order the next game, take this video as a sign, please. I mean, I don't know what other evidence people really need. I think 2042 and BF5 are evidence enough. But this is even further evidence that you should not be giving EA your money because, again, that's just what they want. Resible then goes on to say that, quote, "So, if you're a Battlefield fan, temper your expectations." And potentially the funniest statement of the entire thread from this ex-DICE developer, he calls EA's new leadership corpos. He calls them corpos through and through. They want to extract maximum revenue from their players and drive up shareholder value. They make games to make money, not the reverse. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A ex-DICE developer basically reiterating a lot of what I've said throughout the years. So I'm very interested to see how this next Battlefield game turns out, knowing everything that has happened so far in the build-up to Battlefield 2025. EA is very much trying to push this image of, oh, we're finally returning to our roots. Oh, it's going to be a modern game. We're going to take our time. It's going to be great, guys. Don't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. Really don't. Wait to see it. Wait to get your hands on it, and then make a decision. The reality is this is their last shot, and they know it's their last shot. They wouldn't bring in all these big guns from other industries, try to revitalize Battlefield in the way they are, if they didn't know the magnitude of the situation in front of them. But with that being said, as Resible put it, about 98% of people that are working on the next Battlefield game have never made a Battlefield game, and the people that are corpos. So the reality is, you can fully expect the next Battlefield game to be probably underwhelming Battle Pass slop and nothing more. I fully expect it to be really reminiscent of, Call of Duty and these other games in terms of the way they handle the content delivery. Do not expect a server browser. Do not expect classic legacy Battlefield features to return. Don't expect platoons. And to be brutally honest, if I were you, I would have absolutely no expectations whatsoever. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to let me know your thoughts about this subject. I plan on having a bunch more Delta Force videos out because I'm going to be completely honest, guys. That game's pissing me off, okay? And I have some stuff to say about it, and I cannot wait. I can't wait. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for that video, and of course swing by the streams, ladies and gentlemen. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/Enders and on this YouTube channel as well because I multi-stream. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.